Hi everyone, welcome to section 9.2 where we're going to continue our discovery of quadratic equations. And in this section we're solving by completing the square. So completing the square is based on the binomial squares pattern. In other words, the perfect square trinomials. Notice that if you have the sum of a binomial squared, that's going to be equal to, when you multiply it out, the first term squared plus twice the product of the middle the two terms plus the last term squared, and like this. Similarly, if it's minus, the middle term is negative, but everything else is the same. So the idea is that what we do when we complete the square is we create a perfect square trinomial just like the one on this right side, so that when we factor it, we can easily factor it into a perfect square, like a binomial square. Okay, so how do I do that? So let's say if I have x squared plus bx, we need to take the coefficient of x, half of it, and then square it, and then add it to both sides, because that will give us the number to complete the square. So let's see if we're what I'm saying here. So if you want to complete the square to make a perfect square trinomial, so for A, you have x squared minus 26x. What you have to find is half of, the middle term, negative 26, right? Half of it, and then square it. So we would add 13 squared, or half of 26, right? So 13 squared. And then this would become x minus 13 squared. So for B, if we had y squared minus y to the power, 9y, then half of it, we would take half of 9 and square that. So we would just add 9 over 2 squared. You can write it either like this, or you can write it as 81 over 4. But in any case, when you factor, it would be y minus 9 halves squared. Okay, so let's see if you can get this last one. N squared plus 1/2 n. Oh boy. Half of n, half of a half, and we're going to square it. So we always take half of the middle coefficient, right? The coefficient of the single term, the linear term, So this is going to be 1/4 squared, and then it factors into n plus, and then whatever you're taking the square of, 1/4 parentheses squared. Okay, so to solve an equation where it's equal to 0, we need to add both sides. We do the same thing. We get it into x squared plus bx, and then plus something is equal to negative c, or whatever the number is, and then we take the half of it, square it, and add it to both sides. Okay, and then we would solve. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's complete the square. So here we have x squared plus 8x, and then plus something is going to equal 48. And then, of course, we have to add to both sides. The other one, in the beginning, we didn't add to both sides because there was no both sides. It was just an expression. In this case, it's an equality, so we need to make sure that we maintain the equality. Okay, so half of 8, and then square that. So that's 4 squared. So I'm going to add 4 squared to both sides. And the reason that I leave it in this form, because it's easy to factor. So it becomes x plus 4 squared, and that's equal to 48 plus 16, which is 64. Okay, so now to solve this, we take the square root of both sides. That cancels out this 2 right here. We get x plus 4 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 64, which is 8, minus 4 minus 4. X is equal to negative 4 plus or minus 8. So then you have two answers, negative 4 plus 8, which is 4. And then you have x equals negative 4 minus 8, which is negative 12. So those are your two answers. Okay. Let's do one more here. What if you have a negative number? Still the same thing. So you have x squared, and then just give yourself a space to add, what you're completing the square by. Equals negative 21 plus, and then something. So what's half of 4 and then square it? That's just 4 over 2 squared. So that's just 2 squared. When I factor this, it's going to be x plus 2 squared on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side, it's going to be negative 21 plus 4. That's negative 17. Take the square root. X plus 2 on the left is going to equal plus or minus square root of negative 17 is I root 17. So minus 2, we can leave it like this, negative 2 plus or minus I root 17, and we're done. That's supposed to be 17. Okay. Okay, let's do another one here. Y squared minus 18y plus something is going to equal negative 6 plus the same something. So half of 18, square it, that's going to be 9 squared to both sides. So then this is going to factor y minus 9. Remember that this and this always match. Squared is equal to negative 6 plus 81. That's going to be 75. Square root y minus 9 is equal to plus or minus 5 root 3. Add 9 to both sides. We get y is equal to 9 plus or minus 5 square root of 3. This is a 5. I don't know why I did that. Okay. And that's it. Okay. How about if you have a number in the front? So let's say you have a quadratic equation of this form, ax squared plus bx plus c, where it's a is not 1. So first we need to divide by a. Because in order to complete the square, the coefficient of the square term has to be 1. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's solve by completing the square. So first we have to divide everything by 3. Okay, so that's going to give you x squared minus 4x minus 5 is equal to 0. So this is x squared minus 4x plus something is going to equal to 5 because I moved this 5 over. Plus something. Half of 4 and square it, that's just 2 squared to both sides. So this is going to be x minus 2 squared is equal to 9. Take the square root. X minus 2 is equal to plus or minus 3. Add 2. X is equal to 2 plus 3, which is 5. X is equal to 2 minus 3, which is negative 1. So there you go. All right. So we'll do one more with the fraction. So we have 3x squared plus 2x is equal to 4. So if we divide everything by 3, we get x squared plus 2/3 x plus something is going to equal 4/3 plus something. Half of 2/3 and square it, that's going to be 1/3 squared. So 1/3 squared to both sides. So then that's going to be x plus 1/3 squared on the left. 4/3 plus 4/9, plus 1/9. That's equal to 1/9, right? So then this is times 3. So you get 12/3 plus 1/9, 12/9 plus 1/9 is equal to 13 over 9 square root. Okay, x plus 1/3 is equal to plus or minus square root of 13 over square root of 9, which is 3. Minus 1/3 minus 1/3. X is equal to negative 1/3 plus or minus square root of 13 over 3. Or negative 1 plus or minus square root of 13 all over 3. Same thing. Okay, and that's it for this section. Good luck. Happy studying, and I will see you in the next video.